on a dark country road. This is a story my grandfather told me. I'll do my best to remember and write it down. His name was Shinji, so I call him Shinji. One day, Shinji told me a strange story. This was the only time he ever told me such a story before he died several years ago. When Shinji was around 6 or 7 years old, he had a brother who was 2 years older that died from sickness. His brother was terribly sick and didn't have much time left. So my great-grandfather, Shinji's father, said that he should spend his remaining time at home, and they cared for him there. Shinji played with his older brother in his room until he was unable to. Then, as his brother was getting close to passing, his father asked him to stop. Then one night, his brother died. It was summer, and of course, they had no air conditioning. Not wanting to damage the body, his father decided to take him to the nearest place to do the funeral rites. Shinji's house was way out in the countryside, a place where there weren't even any roads a car could pass through. So their father decided to piggyback him there, and because there was no light on the road, Shinji held a torch and they went together. While shining the torch in front of them, Shinji walked alongside his father, who was carrying his brother's dead body. It was a quiet country road during the middle of the night, so they didn't see any people. All they could hear were the sounds of bugs crying and their own feet on the gravel. The pair walked in silence. My grandfather said his father's face looked extremely tired. After they walked for a while, they saw the figure of a person in front of them. It seemed like the person was walking in the same direction as them, but was moving slowly. They didn't think too much about it and thought they would catch up to the figure in time, but as Shinji casually cast his torch over the person's back, his breath caught in his throat. He'd seen that outfit somewhere before. He quickly remembered where. It was the same outfit that his brother was wearing on their father's back right now. His father noticed at the same time and whispered to him sharply, "Shinji, don't shine that!" He quickly lowered the torch and shone it on their own feet. Because the figure was walking slower than them, they slowly began to close the distance. Shinji started to get scared and wanted to stop walking, but he noticed that whenever he did, the figure in front of them stopped walking too. His father had probably realized the same thing. Slowly they got closer to the figure. The person was just as tall as his brother. Before long he saw the figure's feet. He was barefoot. Even though the road wasn't paved, there were no marks or injuries on his feet. They got even closer. He could see shorts. He knew those pants. They were green and had cuffs. He also saw the shirt. It was a blue and white striped shirt. It was his brother's favorite. He saw the back of his head. At that moment his father grabbed his shoulder and said, "Don't look, Shinji, don't look." Shinji was slightly curious about it, but cast his eyes down. His father was muttering something. He couldn't hear very well, but it sounded like a prayer. They finally closed the distance, and Shinji and his father walked side by side with it. His father was praying next to him. Shinji kept repeating to himself not to look, but as soon as they stood side by side, he realized that it was looking at him. He said that the power behind his gaze was amazingly strong. Finally, the two of them passed it. But, Shinji said, that was when it really got scary. When they passed it, that is to say, it was now behind them. That's when it happened. They couldn't hear footsteps, but it was definitely behind them. It was there, right behind them. He could feel it looking right at them. My great-grandfather said, "Don't look back, Shinji. Whatever you do, don't look back." Shinji couldn't even look at his father beside him, let alone look back. The reason for that was what his father was carrying on his back. The two of them kept on walking down that country road with something following behind them. He just looked straight ahead and prayed they'd reach a place full of people soon. He didn't know when the figure behind them might call out his name or suddenly jump on him, so with his heart racing, he kept on walking. But in the end, the figure didn't call out his name or rush to attack him. The two of them arrived safely at their destination, delivered his brother's body to the morgue, and returned home. Shinji said there was nothing on the road on their way home. When I asked if it was really his brother, he acted like he didn't know. He only said this, "Ever since then, I can't get rid of the feeling that something's following me." Shinji said when that happens, he makes sure not to look back.